So today's practice, this particular session, is all about radical acceptance. Oof, radical. I mean, you don't have to use the word radical. I don't like the word radical acceptance. I like the word acknowledgement. It's all about semantics, isn't it? But sometimes acceptance suggests resigned. So yeah. So what we're going to do today in this session, we're just going to talk about the struggles of engaging with mindfulness, and they're not phases of engagement. Sort of, because there isn't a linear progression when it comes to yoga, and well, there should be, especially in mindfulness, because it's about this non-striving. We're not really trying to change or fix or meet objectives or targets. Oh, destination addiction. Trouble is, in the West, we are very addicted to that. So last session, we talked about strong emotions and how they're stored in the body. And it's safer to work with the body when you're emotionally overwhelmed. And obviously I talked about the 5-6 things you can do when you come across a difficult emotion, when you're practicing or coming across anything really. You don't have to necessarily be in yoga or mindfulness, it can just happen to you at any point in the day. Now, we're still going to carry on with that a little bit, but I sort of subtitled this, being a hot, compassionate mess. Because at the end of the day, there is too many stereotypes about people who practice mindfulness or yoga, that they are perfect and spiritual. I remember once, actually it popped up in my, this is very timely, I think it's very timely, this is where I planned it, because you know when you go on, where you get like a time hop in your Facebook and it reminds you of something that happened in previous years. Well, I got one where a young lady, nobody knows her and I'm not really friends with her really, but she accused me, well no, she just made a judgment really. She said to me, "You're not spiritual, are you, for a yoga teacher?" And she also, it was one of those, I'm joking but I really mean it. Tristessa, that's a really ippy-dippy yoga name. It's like, you sound a bit waffy. And I just laughed. I laughed at both things, and I said that spirituality is anything that's greater than yourself. I'm quite lefty and socialist because I believe in equality. I believe that's my spirituality. It's up to you. It's up to your own personal beliefs. I think somebody joked once about religion. Religion is a bit like a willy, you know. You don't get it out and wave it around to people. So I keep it to myself. And, except sometimes when I'm getting a bit, but also as well, I just laughed and I said, well, my name isn't very, very spiritual really, because if you know of my name, where it comes from, I was named after a sex worker who took heroin in a Jack Kerouac novel. So, yes, I'm not very spiritual. Not. I am, but in my own way. It depends what you define as being spiritual. This is this judgmental thing of like, and I haven't got anything together. I'm an absolute mess. I'm only doing this because I want to be 10% less of an idiot, because I know I am 100% annoying. And that has been proven today, whilst my partner has been trying to work, as he does, for the theatre industry that he works for, on his computer all the time. He's on Zoom, and I singing a Lily Allen song with a famous swear word in it, and I'm going like this, walking in like a small child, not realising he's on Zoom, and just generally irritating him all day and getting him very annoyed. So yeah, I'm highly irritating and I'm highly annoying, and I am a big, hot mess when it comes to being into yoga and mindfulness. Less about me anyway, because that's ridiculous, but I'm just using myself as an example because I'm a total and utter failure at a lot of things. And I'm pretty rubbish. But I accept myself. Do you know what? I won't let anybody criticise me. Because I quite like myself, because I've come into radical acceptance. Right, what do we mean by this idea of the phases of engagement, which really aren't really, because it suggests that there's some kind of linear progress, but there isn't really when it comes to yoga and mindfulness. Number one, we try too hard when we practice yoga and mindfulness, and we strive too much, and we're like, oh God, I'm not doing it right. This is the perfectionist phase. You try too hard. And you remember what we talked about, the fly video, you know, about the samurai who was practicing his Zen meditation. And he tries too hard at meditating, doesn't he? And the more he resists the fly, the more that his irritation persists. So what you resist persists. This striving ultimately will lead to disillusionment. You give up because you're thinking it's not working, because you want the perfection of the mindfulness to solve your problems, or yoga to do the same. And that's not what yoga and mindfulness does. Yoga and mindfulness doesn't fix things, but it helps. We're all looking for quick fixes, and I'm afraid there isn't any. And wanting perfection and wanting this ideal state where you're brilliant at meditating and then you beat yourself up. In fact, you just completely beat yourself up and give up, and that's really, it's like anything. You could apply this to a diet, or trying to be healthy eating, or doing any exercise program. You strive too hard, you go hell-bent for leather, right? Then you get delusion because you're not getting the quick enough benefits, and then you just sort of like, I don't know. But according to, you know, the great meditation teachers, radical acceptance, or as I like to call it, radical acknowledgement, because I don't like acceptance. Acceptance seems like you're sort of like very passive. It just reminds me of Winston Smith at the end of 1984, or what's his name, sat at the tree underneath in Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, where they've just given in, haven't they? And they love Big Brother. And what's his name loves Brave New World, doesn't it? He's completely accepted that it's sort of like the ideological fate of his existence. And as I've said before, it isn't about that. Mindfulness says that there is capacity to resist. Resist persists when it comes to emotional states and you, but not resisting authority. Sticking to your true core values, honesty, integrity. They are still so much an important part of the Buddhist and mindfulness and the Hindu tradition, and all right down there. They're all there, you know. You've got your Niyamas and your Yamas, and you've got these these commandments of the yoga principles of how to live your life in relation to other people, and they're there for Buddhists as well. The internal shift happens when you befriend who you are and accept yourself, and you're not trying to fix yourself. And you're not trying to be different, and you accept everything as it is. And that's what mindfulness is, not trying to fix or change things. Same with yoga. Now, Pema Chodron, who is a Buddhist mindfulness teacher, said that after all these years of meditation, you are still allowed to be crazy, angry, and jealous. Because we're not trying to be something better. We are trying to, through mindfulness and yoga, to befriend who we are. And that means no longer listening to shameful, self-critical or guilty voices inside of our heads. So instead, we're just a compassionate mess where we accept that we are humans struggling with all sorts of things, struggling with the uncertainty and confusion and grief and anger, all these things, but acting compassionately to ourselves and forgiving ourselves when we're being like that. I can't remember who said it. I think it was a psychologist. He said it was the subtle aggression of self-improvement. And if I remember what he said I've said previously that compassion in Buddhism is quite fierce. The word passion itself, what does it make you do? Passion doesn't sound a little bit, it's not flowery, is it? Think of the etymology of the word passion. The psychologist, Carl Rogers, said that this is the curious paradox of mindfulness. When you accept yourself as you are, change happens. And what did I say about wanting to change things? It's that kind of thing, yeah, paradox. Yeah, it's a paradox. So what happens when we get to striving and then go to disillusionment? We get the critical inner monologue. There's two types of monologues. The critical inner monologue, there's one that is to do with your fight or flight response, and it serves you very well, but it's not very helpful sometimes. It protects you, it stops you from failure, it keeps you safe, it makes you fit in with the group. It stops you from being for the risk of rejection. It discourages you sometimes into doing something that could get, you know, discourages you into action. So it's sort of a little bit like freeze flop, really. You know, so you're not going to do anything that could put yourself into a little bit more danger. But there's the other type. Okay, the other type that has been given there by a voice from an abusive caregiver, for example, where they have been, so for example, if you've had somebody and you've been brought up with a negative parent or a caregiver or whatever, and it's very damaging and can cause self-destructive behaviour. Both of them are very, very self-destructive anyway. And what did we say? You're hardwired to be negative, you're hardwired to look for danger, and that's why you have a negative voice inside of your head, because it's your amygdala, your fight or flight response, constantly looking out for negative stuff to save you, to keep you safe. Oh, there's a virus out there, don't go out of the house. So you have to give yourself compassion. Either you have to acknowledge these things, these voices going on in your head, and you have to acknowledge, identify it, label it, and you have to say something to it. You have to say, rather than the voice inside your head telling you you're crap, you have to say, right, okay, let's flip it on its head, let's use that soft compassionate voice and soft compassionate touch, and then you can turn it around and say, okay, so you had a full chocolate fudge cake today. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. Just like a best friend talking to you, saying, look, what would a best friend talk to you? Said if you broke your diet and you'd had like a full death by chocolate cake. What would they say to you? Think of it being like that. You have that compassionate voice, do it. Don't chase it. Say thank you for your for being considerate. Thank you for looking out for me, but best friend talking here to myself. I'm not pants. I don't know I'm imperfect, but so you have to really think to yourself. Do you remember we talked about backdrafting and resourcing? This is all part of the process of backdraft. Things come up, but you have to use the resourcing, don't you? When stuff come up, remember your resourcing techniques, and I'm going to keep talking about them all the time. Ground, feel the weight of your body against the floor. Self-touch, compassionate, wherever you need it. We've experimented that. Get in touch with your centre, belly breathing. Label or name, to put a distance between you and the thing, where your third-person objectivity, like mindfulness meditation is, and just go, hello, this is anger. Nice compassionate voice. Talk to your anger. I know it's strange, but it's a bit like, what's that film? It's really quite good, actually. It's good for teaching emotions to kids. The one about the brain, isn't it? And it's like you just talk to them as if it's a person or a little person. That's strange, I know. So we're going to do a compassionate meditation. Hey, and I want you to remember that your body is key. Strong emotions will reside in there. They will be stored in your body. Things will come up. You need to remember your resourcing tools. You need to decide which one you're going to use if something does come up. Grounding, core centre breath, self-touch, yeah, label and name. Oh yeah, I forgot pendulation and focus. You know what pendulation is? You go from the area, the hot, strong area, and then you go to a space which feels neutral or numb, and you go backwards and forwards, and you go backwards and forwards, bing, bong, bing, until it reduces. Or you refocus onto another one of your five senses. So, you know, you go, oh, I'm going to look at the clouds. Look out the window. Oh, I'm going to feel the outline of my hands. I'm going to feel touch. Oh, I'm going to listen to sounds. Oh, I'm going to focus on the sensations in my mouth. I'm going to focus on, you know, I've got my special aromatherapy oil that makes me feel good. Ooh, you know, check it out. So, let's do it. So, being a compassionate mess. I like being a mess. I'm just a royal mess and I love it. I'm not relishing in it, you know, like Dorian Gray does every time he looks at his picture when he sees it's decomposing. He sort of gets a narcissistic kind of love out of his his mess. He has no compassion for it though, has he? Sorry, literary references again. So what we're going to do then is I want you to choose. So find your seat, okay? If your knees are higher than your hips, elevate your hips. And remember, spine stacked coins, okay? Chin slightly tucked in, Soft gaze or eyes closed. Okay, you're breathing through your nose and out through your nose. Tip the tongue. Okay, just allow your hands to drop by your side of your hips, and then just hinge at the elbows. Don't move your shoulders, and then you know where to put your hands. Okay, excellent. So you're lifting out of your hips and you're not collapsing or arching. Your posture is important because you want to stay alert, because that's what mindfulness is. Noticing. Okay, so whether your eyes are closed or soft gaze, so you're really going to drop down into the body, just a nice soft landing into the physical sensations of the body. And just focus first of all on the weight of your hands against your thighs and your hips and your feet against the floor. And just come to an awareness of the belly breathing, as if there's a balloon just behind the belly button. Just notice the rise and fall, like a wave. And always notice that these two things are there available for you as your resource whenever you feel challenged: the ground and the breath. And just take 3 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. See if you can just come into your centre of your being, your personal agency and your power, right into that core centre. This is who you are, where your agency is. Dropping down into the body with each exhale. Just come into that sense of stillness and awareness of breath and hands and hips. Choose a mild or medium problem that you may beat yourself up about. A situation that causes you some pain or inadequacy. Something that's not too challenging, because we're just going to do it drip, drip. And see if you can visualise with all your 5 senses, as if you're there with a camera, the situation, the problem. And see if you can feel any discomfort in the body as you bring that situation to mind. And if it's too difficult, change it to something less. Always remember you can come back to the breath and the contact of the floor for your resource. And if you feel any discomfort, just feel it. You can place your hands, a soothing, compassionate touch. It's a gesture of tenderness or kindness wherever you feel this situation in the body. But see if you can accept it. See if you can accept the pain of the situation. See if you can open up to it with a kind of kindness, a heart melt to soothe. And using that warm, supportive, compassionate, soothing caress of the hands, can you do the same with your voice inside of your mind? A warm, supportive, compassionate language, like a best friend, offering you comfort, support. See if you can talk to it, that situation or emotion. Perhaps you could say, "I'm sorry for feeling so bad about yourself right now. These feelings won't last, but like a good friend, I'm here for you. It's going to be okay." think of that sentence and the phrasing and use that tone. Something like the pain of failure is overwhelming. I can't make it go away, but I can be with it with courage and patience and with an open heart. You might want to say something like it's okay to be a mess, to be a compassionate mess, to be imperfect. Or it may feel tough to screw up. But accept I am an imperfect being that gets it wrong, but I accept myself, kind to myself. It's okay to be this. It's okay to understand. So we're just going to spend a few moments as you contemplate your phrase. Allow yourself to bathe in the phrase and the words, almost like you're bathing in and soothing yourself and dropping down into a warm, hot bath, as if you're stewing in the words, as they resonate through all your pores and all of your cells in your body. And don't worry if it becomes too challenging. Remember your resource, the ground, your breath, the labelling, pendulation, refocusing. Just meditate on the soft words, compassionate understanding of yourself with soft, compassionate touch. And then just let go of that focus, just come back to being fully human. Just not strive anymore. No longer destination addiction. Just let everything go and let everything flow in and out of your conscious awareness. Sounds, smells, thoughts, emotions, touch, breath. Everything happening as it is right here, right now, coming in and out of your conscious awareness without seeking or striving to attain or focus. Just be as you are. And then simply come back to the breath. Come back to your seat, the ground beneath you. Come back to an awareness of where you are in time and space. Okay, so if you found that a little bit of a challenge, just remember that you can do it in a different, alternative way. I believe that journaling is just as good as mindfulness. Be your best friend and write a letter to yourself. It's very good and it's quite therapeutic, and you can do it at any time. So if this doesn't work for you, there is always another method. But we're working with the critical negative voice, because when we do that, we downregulate your stress response. And we also can live with ourselves in this radical acknowledgement, which me is fine. I'm 50 now, really. But, you know, I'm nearly 50 and I quite like myself. But I'll be really honest, it's been a blooming long time getting here, I can tell you that. So radical, not acceptance, acknowledgement. I don't know, it's a bit like philosophy. I talk a lot, don't I? I'm very sorry. I feel like I'm giving you a lot of it is quite there is a lot of philosophy in mindfulness, and I do contradict myself, because it's not about there is a way to do it, it's practicing is the way to do it. Just practice every day, 5 to 10 minutes, and just work on that acceptance. If you don't want to do kind of like a long meditation like that, just remember to, when you're talking to yourself, practice mindfulness and notice. Notice when you are talking to yourself in a negative voice. Stop. Talk to yourself as a friend would. Give yourself compassionate reassurance. Use your hands for that gentle touch of compassion, giving yourself the oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. And don't forget your 5-6 resourcing tools, so that you don't get overwhelmed emotionally. Because it's there in the body. The body knows the scar. It stores it up for years and years and years and years. You need to read Gabor Maté. He wrote a good book on the realm of hungry ghosts about addiction as well. Because he talks about, from his own experience, because he came from Jewish, I think his family died in the camps, he's Hungarian, and he's had his own, he's traumatised, and he's got ADHD, and he's got addiction, he's had illness problems and addiction problems, and really, as a doctor, he's made these big links between, because at the end of the day, it is your fight or flight sort of stress response system that attacks your own body, isn't it? Your stress response attacks you, and trauma isn't something that can be, trauma is individual to each person. It can be a catastrophe, it can be something like this, it can be a car accident, it can be a sudden illness. All these things can trigger the fight or flight, your body attacking itself. And the best way to heal is to deal with that response and heal the nervous system. And the best way to do that is self-compassion, mindfulness and yoga. Okay, so I'm just going to go now and just go back to being my usual hot, compassionate mess. It's falafels for tea. Take care. Bye.